If works don't save anyone in the Bible, then why does God require certain works along with faith at some points in time? Get James chapter 2, verse 26. Now, we earlier looked at Hebrews 11:6, and Hebrews 11:6 said, without faith it is impossible to please Him. So if you don't have faith, under every period of time on the chart, in other words, at all times, if you don't have faith, you can't please Him. Or put it another way, what does God always require at every point in time? He requires faith. Now look with me at James 2:26. For as the body without the Spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. This is the classic verse that is used to say that faith is not enough. You also have to have works. Well, the first problem with that sort of thinking is Ephesians 2:8-9 says, for by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. Titus 3:5 says, not by works of righteousness we have done. Ephesians 2:8-9, Titus 3:5, Romans 3:28 are all absolutely clear that you're not saved by works. But people grab James 2:26 and say, look, faith without works is dead. The way to understand verse 26 is to read verse 22. Look at verse 22. Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect. What that verse is saying, it's not that works ever saved anyone in time past. And by the way, look at verse 21 and 23. It's talking about Abraham. Abraham wasn't justified by the works that he performed. Abraham believed God, it was counted unto him for righteousness. But let me just give you this for instance. Are you ready? If you live under the kingdom gospel, and the gospel that is preached to you is, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. Does water baptism actually cleanse your sins? It doesn't. If water baptism actually cleansed your sins, you could simply take a shower and deal with your sins. Water baptism was an act that was undergone in faith. You follow me? In other words, if the thief on the cross had been let down from the cross, guess what he would have done? He would have been water baptized because he had faith. He didn't have the opportunity to be water baptized, and so God looked at his faith and counted it for righteousness. My point is this. Whenever God commands people to do works at various points in time, it is not that God looks at that work and says that work is sufficient to merit salvation. You offered an animal sacrifice. Well, that animal sacrifice was sufficient to pay for your sins. No, it's not that, because the blood of bulls and goats cannot take away sin, Hebrews 9. What God did is he looked at that act which demonstrated faith. By works was faith made perfect. It's not that the act saves you, it's that the act makes your faith perfect, and when your faith is perfect, you're saved. Abraham believed God, it was counted him for righteousness. So that's the way to think at the points on the timeline that deal with works.